Before we jump into the best mech in Battletech, and we're going to do a little bit of mech design, I'm putting forth kind of my criteria if I was designing a mech from scratch. This is what I would focus on. But in order to framework that, we need to step back and look at the meta. Now, one of the things in various wargaming systems is this idea of the meta. We are playing competitively. We're doing our best to win, to create that moment. And naturally what you see with any set of rules, it's a simulation. Battletech, Warhammer 40,000, Pacific Rim, X-Wing miniatures, all of the systems that I enjoy playing, it's trying to create a narrative on the tabletop. There's things that you can do and things that you can't do. And certainly no rule set is perfect. Some are a little bit tighter than others. Some are a little bit more streamlined than others, and some are really, really detailed. We see this like with role-playing systems. Something so easy, streamlined, like Advanced Dungeons & Dragons or D&D. And then we've got something like Rolemaster, where I'm still resolving combat from Rolemaster from like years and years and years ago. So within that framework, the idea of the meta is just based on the rules, certain units, certain weapons, certain things are going to gravitate towards the top because the rules make them good. The simulation makes them the best. So the idea of the meta is narrative out the door, rule of cool out the door. What is the absolute best unit based on the meta? And we see this with competitive tournament play, because in a tournament, you're bringing your best. You want to rank on the top tables. That's how you explore it. Now, we've got that framework. So I'm going to be examining this from the meta, because one of the things that you see in Battletech is it's a narrative. This idea of battle mechs, they're not all equal. Some are very specialized. And there's a couple of favorite mechs of mine that I like to play, but honestly, they're absolute junk because the idea behind them to sell them, we have all these corporations, right, like GM still around, selling Marauders. There's other companies cashing in on various mechs and machines, and we see this with tanks and vehicles. There's a lot of C-bills to be made, so not all mechs are equal. There's some quirky mechs. There's some mechs that were designed for a role that really we never needed. The Cicada, looking at that, we don't need a heavy recon mech. We've got a Locust. We've got other bug mechs. The joke is if you get a Cicada, first thing you do is you sell it and you buy yourself a Jenner. So from that perspective, putting that aside, what would the meta be? Now I'm looking at heavy mechs because we got to pay a price, whether it's C-bills or we're looking at battle value. Light and medium mechs, they have their role. But with what I want to bring, with what I want to do, I need the tonnage. I need a certain amount of tonnage to mount a certain amount of stuff on it. Likewise, if I go into the assault mech categories, I'd like bigger, I'd like better, I'd like more. But that comes with a price. I could certainly jack things up and make something super killy, but we're paying premium battle value. I mean, look at the cost of an Awesome or an Atlas, say compared to a higher-end heavy machine. So I want to lock myself in. I want to lock myself in at the heavy mech spectrum. Now, in a moment, I'm going to push out my stats, and then my fellow mech warriors, fellow mech enthusiasts, fellow mech commanders, mech techs, mech sales. A lot of money to be made in mech sales. What would you design as the perfect mech? Now, I want simplicity. I want redundancy. So what we're looking at, redundancy in Battletech, there's this idea, 1 is none, 2 is 1, 3 is some. You're going to be running and gunning. You're going to be moving about. I'm going to be moving about. I want to try and hit you with multiples of the same weapon profile, meaning ideally damage and range. So if I have the ability to fire 3 PPCs, whatever the modifiers are, I have a greater chance to tag you than firing 1. If we're running and gunning, I'm moving, you're moving, I fire 3 PPCs, maybe 1 will hit. If I can catch you flat-footed, meaning you're not really moving, I didn't really move, keep those modifiers down, then I'll light you up with 3. So I want to be able to build in redundancy. Second, armor. I need to be in that game. I need to be just blasting away, taking advantage of my weapons profile, zapping you every single turn. And then on top of that, I need heat management. Personally, I tend to run a little hot, fire everything, push the heat, but I need to be zapping every single turn. Now we've got that criteria Obviously not the exact mech specs because there's a lot of play with what we want to do. The biggest being engine speed. I can make a heavy mech pretty fast. I can make it slower, like the Banshee. With this, if we're playing the meta, right? If we're playing the meta, I'm going to mount a smaller engine because a lot of players play on 1 or 2 hex maps. I can plod forward, move forward, and then get into range and then catch you. If I take a lower rated engine a little bit slower, that frees up slots for weapons and, more importantly, armor. Now, if I can't guarantee that, right, this is examining the meta. If I knew every Battletech tournament was on a single hex map, then, yeah, I don't need a fast mech. 3 turns, I'll be up there. That's fine. I won't have those super modifiers, but from that perspective, that's fine. If we're on a traditional wargaming table, then maybe I want something rated a little bit average. So I'm going to drop in an average heavy mech engine. Then I'm going to bring it down a little bit in tonnage and speed and put that forward. I want to mount 2 PPCs. I want all energy. Let's step it back for a moment here. All energy. I want to save tonnage. I don't want to go boom, boom, ammo bomb. I want to be able to fire every single turn and not have to worry about ammo. No ammunition, completely energy-based. So what we're going to see is 2 PPCs. Then we're going to see 4 medium lasers. And then we're going to see 4 to 6 small lasers. This idea, I've got something for every single range. When I'm at long range, I'm going to be hitting you with those 2 PPCs every single turn. Zap, 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 zap. As I get closer, we'll check out heat sinks in a moment. As I get closer, 4 medium lasers. Zap, 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 zap. Just firing away. At that range band, as soon as the medium lasers are in range, I can't push the heat of both of those. I stop firing the PPCs. We switch to the medium lasers. When we get super close, we switch to the small lasers and just zap you up, light you up on that. Heat sinks. And again, I'm just as back of the envelope type development and design. We'll have to actually crunch the numbers in the mech lab. 20 heat sinks. 20. Yeah, I'd like more, but I need armor. 20 heat sinks. Maybe 15, but really 20. 20 will let me clear, if I'm not moving, those 2 PPCs and the medium lasers every single turn. If I move, it'll build a little heat, but I can manage that heat and then clear it again in a turn of not moving and maybe not firing 1 medium laser, just firing the 3. And of course, the small lasers with maybe 1 or 2 medium lasers pushing that. So essentially a dedicated energy boat. No jump jets. No jump jets. Got no time for the jump. Yeah, I'd like jump. I'd like everything, but we got to really focus on the meta. And then maximum armor. Maximum armor, just slabs, minimum in the back, and just leverage that. That's kind of a template. Now, of course, what does that look like? 3D printed out, the Fritz, where does that fit in the package? How does that exactly shake out in terms of weapon location and design and things like that? The little tweaks. This is just kind of that first pass at that. What does that look like for you?